So there are some new details about Robert Louis Deer, the right-wing Christian who attacked a Planned Parenthood location in Colorado. Now, this new information kind of corroborates that, yes, he was a conservative, he was evangelical, and he was also incredibly violent with a history of sexual assault and domestic violence. Now, Raw Story reports that according to the Charleston Post and Courier, Robert Deer had been arrested in 1992 for the rape of a woman at one of his jobs at the Charleston Mall, or at her job. Now, basically, what she alleges is that he had advanced, she declined, and he ended up stalking her to her home and allegedly raping her at knife point. Now, this guy has had a history of violent behavior. I remember reading an article, and I was going to do that earlier before this came up, because this is a lot of new information, that he had also stalked another neighbor because he thought, and he followed him for 2-3 days at a time, doing something he called a scare campaign, because he thought that neighbor had told on him for allegedly abusing his dog. So, Robert Deer allegedly abused his dog, and he thought his neighbor had said something to the authorities about it. And so he stalked him. Now, when I first read that, and that was before I read this, I was like, nah, okay, wow, that's kind of fucked up. Now I read this, now it's all kinds of fucked up. It's worse. Divorce documents from 1993. One of Deer's ex-wives described, and he had 3 of them, by the way, described him as controlling, abusive, and serially unfaithful. Well, now, that doesn't exactly sound like an evangelical Christian, right? But that's, of course, what he described himself as, and I'll get into that. Now, he had also routinely gambled away the family's money, but was ever reluctant to provide for his wife and children financially. Now, she also alleged that he was hot-tempered and unstable. Quote, he erupts into a fury in a matter of seconds. Are you starting to get a clearer picture of what this guy's about? Now, a lot of previous interviews with people, New York Times, I believe, interviewed one of his ex-wives that didn't actually have this this experience with him, right? Saying that he was, though he'd erupt a couple of times, but then he'd always apologize, and it was our separation, our divorce was amicable. Well, certainly a lot different than this account coming from another one of his ex-wives. Hot-tempered and unstable. Now you have this guy who was a loner. Self-described. He was a loner. He wanted people to leave him the fuck alone. He lived in places, in trailers, sometimes for miles away up into the mountains, and trying to get away from people. In places where there was no electricity, water, or sewer. Off the grid. And a quiet guy, kind of weird. This was what was described by different neighbors and one of his ex-wives. Now, if it's anything I know, and I know this is a bit of a stereotype here, with the quiet ones, right? Well, sometimes the quiet ones, they're quiet and they bottle things up, and they bottle things up, and they bottle things up until they explode. That's what this guy sounds like. Quiet to the outside world, but inside, a volcano waiting to explode. Now, there's more. His second wife, Barbara Mescher, had explained to attorneys. In her time with Deer, she testified, she continually lived in fear and dread of his emotional and physical abuse. He claims to be a Christian and is extremely evangelistic. That's a hard word. But does not follow the Bible in his actions, according to Mescher, his second wife. He says that as long as he believes he will be saved, he can do whatever he pleases, and he is obsessed with the world coming to an end. Wow. To the 3 people that he killed in that Planned Parenthood, he made sure that their world did come to an end. Jeez. Now, the Post and Courier also revealed that the 1992 rape accusations never actually went to trial. However, the court documents paint a picture of what actually had reportedly taken place. Now, the unnamed woman, who was an employee at the Charleston Citadel Mall, had apparently, begun reportedly harassing the woman on and off the clock. He followed her home, and on November 29, 1992, he reportedly ambushed her as she attempted to take out the trash. He then allegedly put a knife to her neck and forced her back inside her residence. And this is according to a police report. The suspect then allegedly forced the victim down to the couch, struck her with his fist, and then sexually assaulted her. The assault continued with him dragging the woman into a bedroom and continuing to rape her there. When he left the house, the victim called a friend who took her to the hospital where she reported him to the police. Now this guy, as I had mentioned before, long history of arrests in South Carolina out of Colleton and Beaufort counties. This is according to records. Now, the Post and Courier's Glenn Smith and Melissa Boughton said a background search completed by the Post and Courier found that Deere was arrested in 2003 on a cruelty to animals charge, but was found not guilty in 2004. He was also charged under the state's People in Town law in 2002, but that charge was later dismissed, according to a background search. That's interesting. He gets arrested all these different times, and every time, he gets let go. I wonder why. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying. Now, an ex-wife had also called the police in 1997 after being beaten, but like the Charleston rape victim, she declined to press charges. Why? Maybe it's because they knew this guy was dangerous. There was another neighbor, the one that I had said that he had allegedly followed for several days for that scare campaign. That guy said, I knew this guy. He seemed like the kind that was going to go on a rampage one day. Maybe these women knew it. Maybe they didn't. But I think it's obvious now that this is the kind of guy that was always going to be dangerous. Now, whether or not the anti-abortion rhetoric and the videos had a lot to do with it, or was it just the cherry on top that actually caused this massacre, we don't know. Maybe we'll find out.